Hello, and welcome to MMA Nation. Paulo Costa opens up on failed negotiations with UFC for Robert Whittaker fight. Paulo Costa is furious that the UFC 284 event's fan-favorite match was cancelled. Costa was supposed to take on Robert Whittaker in Australia the next year, but the match is no longer going to happen. Paulo Costa claims that the UFC once presented him with a 4-fight deal worth a total of $500,000 that would guarantee a matchup with Robert Whittaker at UFC 284. The promotion originally called for 6. Costa enjoyed the number, but not the number of fights that went along with it. He responded by saying no, which caused a standoff that led to the cancellation of the already scheduled fight and his future in the UFC. To compete against Whittaker, Costa said he needed fresh terms. He added that he would not fight for the same amount of money. According to Costa, Dana White's lawyer, Hunter Campbell, said that they needed to make a new 6-fight deal, but he said no. Costa claims that he only agreed in principle to take on Whittaker in the pay-per-view fight on February 12th in Perth. Because they hadn't agreed upon terms he felt were fair, he claimed that the match was never official. Well, not the $70,000 to show and $70,000 to win guaranteed by his previous contract. Despite his objections, the UFC ultimately announced the match, placing public pressure on him to sign. He stated it had happened before, so such a move wasn't unexpected. He just made a record correction. Costa said, "I just came in and said the truth. It is a fraud. It's not taking place." Costa claimed that these strategies were generally used in hardball negotiations, which affected fighters, particularly Brazilian fighters. He believes Brazilian fighters' pride often does them a disservice when new contract offers arrive, and they're stuck in long-term deals that leave them undervalued. Costa eventually ran out of patience. He parted ways with his longtime manager Waleed Ismail and started challenging the UFC's demands. His case might have been undermined by the significant drama that occurred outside of the cage, including the tragic Marvin Vettori weight controversy. He stood his ground, though. Costa believes it would be very easy for the promotion to make the fight if they were more willing to bend. He's stuck in limbo, at least until his contract expires, because it isn't, though. Costa may have been sidelined indefinitely if the UFC's current antitrust action hadn't been filed, as the promotion had extended his contract for turning down opponents. However, a sunset provision gave the promotion a fixed period to keep him bound by his contract. He expects to become a free agent in March 2023. UFC 284 is currently off the table, according to Costa, because there isn't enough time to complete a comprehensive camp before the fight. He is, however, open to the idea if the organization is willing to provide him the right compensation for a fight in March against Whittaker or another opponent. He remarked that a $500,000 contract to fight Whittaker and Whittaker alone seems about reasonable. As long as it has a healthy bump, he's in. Marlon Chito Vera versus Cory Sandhagen. Marlon Chito Vera and Cory Sandhagen will face off in a top 5 showdown at bantamweight on February 18th at the Apex in Las Vegas, according to a subsequent announcement from the UFC. The bantamweight 135-pound division is where this fight will take place. Looking at the stats, Marlon Vera holds a professional 22-7-1 MMA record and a 14-6 UFC record and is currently ranked number 4. He holds notable wins against fighters like Sean O'Malley, Frankie Edgar, and Rob Font. On the other hand, his opponent, Cory Sandhagen, holds a professional 15-4-0 MMA record and an 8-3 UFC record and is currently ranked number 5. Cory has had notable wins against fighters like Frankie Edgar, Marlon Moraes, and Song Yadong. The longest win streak of his career has seen Marlon Vera go 10-2 in his previous 12 UFC contests. He began the current 4-fight winning spree against his former rival, Davey Grant. His brutal 4th-round head kick knockout of the legendary Dominic Cruz in his most recent fight earned him nominations for Knockout of the Year. He has had some incredible UFC stats, including being one of the only 3 fighters with 20-plus fights who has never been knocked down. Max Holloway and John Jones are the only other 2. He also holds the record for the most victories in the UFC bantamweight division with 11. After suffering 2 decision defeats to TJ Dillashaw and Petr Yan, Cory Sandhagen bounced back against Song Yadong in their most recent fight. It's important to note that his only defeats in the UFC came at the hands of reigning or previous champions, with his third coming against Aljamain Sterling, the current bantamweight champion. Sandhagen's fights feel like highlights from the moment they start. He always brings it and displays a spectacular arsenal of spinning and flying knees. In his most recent fight, he displayed all of them on his way to a 4th-round TKO victory via doctor stoppage. With a murky title picture and unclear #1 contender, this fight could have major implications for the division's future. Please share your predictions in the comments section below. We'd love to hear from you. Conor McGregor praises Leon Edwards' KO of KAMARU USMAN. Leon Edwards' victory over KAMARU USMAN at UFC 278 has received high praise from Conor McGregor, who claims it is deserving of more honors than just comeback of the year. The British fighter was a great underdog when he traveled to Salt Lake City to face the unbeatable Usman, who had held the title for a long time and had never suffered a defeat in the UFC. And after trailing for virtually all 5 rounds of the fight, he pulled off a spectacular head kick knockout. McGregor praised Edwards in a tweet that said, "Stop the nonsense, comeback of the year, this is everything of the year, bar none. The timing of the commentary, the timing of the fight, the shot itself, the KO, the ramifications, the post-speech, pound-for-pound headshot, dead. This lives on. Team Paradigm Sports." Although the Irishman's broken leg prevents him from competing, when he returns to the ring, he'll join Edwards in the UFC's welterweight division. He aims to win a second title in an unprecedented 3rd weight class, but he will likely need a few wins before he can face Edwards, perhaps even more. Israel Adesanya and Glover meeting each other. Israel Adesanya and Alex Pereira's rivalry is still very much alive. The stylebender is still not through with Pereira, despite having dropped 3 fights against him. He recently attended the World MMA Awards and met up with a former UFC light heavyweight champion Glover Teixeira, who is currently Alex Pereira's coach. Adesanya, the former middleweight champion, was seen conversing with Teixeira in a video that was uploaded to his YouTube channel. Each fighter treated the other with respect. Izzy, though, expressed his feelings. "The war continues, it's not over. You already know. No, not now. Like it's still war, but always respect." Israel Adesanya also went ahead to congratulate Glover on his recent fixed visa issues. "Yeah, Glover Teixeira finally got a visa to fight in the US after months of waiting." Izzy's suggestion of conflict indicates that he's still interested in Pereira. Well, before falling to Alex Pereira at UFC 281, Adesanya had a perfect record in the middleweight division. His only other defeat came at the hands of former UFC light heavyweight champion Jan Blachowicz. It was a significant night for the stylebender, aside from the cordial run-in with a former mixed martial arts fighter from Brazil. At the World MMA Awards presentation, the former middleweight champion Dan Hooker received the Best Gym Award. They both trained in Auckland, New Zealand's City Boxing Gym. Well, the City Boxing Gym has advanced significantly over the last several years, as it has continued to host a remarkable roster of fighters, including the likes of Kai Kara France, Israel Adesanya, Dan Hooker, and Alexander Volkanovski. Daniel Cormier questions why the USADA is testing Jiri Prochazka so many times instead of Jon Jones. Recently, Daniel Cormier questioned why Jiri Prochazka received more USADA testing than Jon Jones did. Many people in the MMA community have questioned why Denisa has been deemed the most tested athlete this year after the most recent report surfaced, pointing to some of the usual suspects who've been overlooked. DC is one such personality who's raised a dispute over the fact that Jones has only been tested 4 times this year, despite having a history of PED use, compared to the 62 times that Prochazka has been tested. Daniel Cormier debated the discrepancy in the number of tests conducted on the Czech fighter and Jon Jones with Ben Askren on his YouTube channel. The former 2-division champion asked, one of the reasons with Jon Jones was that he was going to come back, but he was going to be one of the most tested guys in the USADA. Where the hell are his tests? Why is he not being tested the most? Why are you testing Jiri Prochazka more thoroughly than you are evaluating this person who has a history of such problems? That makes no sense. Now, one of the most popular rumors for next year is that Jon Jones will return to the UFC octagon. If Dana White has his way, Jones will likely go up against Francis Ngannou for the heavyweight title. Francis Ngannou and his coach Eric Nicksick troll Chris Curtis. Francis Ngannou shared a video of himself and his coach Eric Nicksick trolling Chris Curtis on Twitter with the caption, "Just get up." Francis was seen in the video sitting on one of his colleagues who was helplessly stretched on the floor while his coach Eric Nicksick kept yelling, "Get up, Chris! Chris, get up! Don't just lay there, Chris! Get up!" It was hilarious. Alright guys, that wraps up our video for today. Please give this video a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and do well to check out our other videos. Bye for now.